Now over to John Bruce for Trial Tuesday.
Welcome back, buddy. Trial Tuesday once again, and today we're talking about a recent DUI incident where police say a Mount Pleasant town councilman was arrested and charged with driving under the influence. Joining us this morning is Charleston attorney David Aylor, a man who always walks the straight line of justice. Well, counsel, let's get right into this right now and talk about the specifics of this particular case. A wreck was involved with that town councilman. He refused the breathalyzer test. Tell us where it goes from here.
Well, essentially, what happened initially was obviously the police came due to the wreck. At that point, there were some field sobriety tests. I'm not sure exactly how many, but they at least in the media reported a couple field sobriety tests which he took, which they've alleged that he failed. And then, of course, the breathalyzer comes back at the police station, which he refused. Now, when you refuse the breathalyzer, instantly, if you're a South Carolina licensed driver, your license is taken and suspended for 6 months.
Automatically.
Correct. However, there is a way that you can apply for implied consent hearing based off that refusal and get a temporary alcohol license, which a lot of people are unaware of, and you can drive on that all the way up until your hearing with the DMV.
I did not know that. So let's say that you do refuse the breathalyzer test, and then it's found that you're not guilty for whatever reason, a technicality, perhaps the equipment was wrong or the officer did something that was not supposed to be done. Do you get that license back, or does it have to be that automatic 6 months?
That's actually a good question, because they're actually two separate things in and of themselves. You could actually be found guilty of the DUI and not have any effect related to the breathalyzer if you blew or if you won the implied consent hearing, and vice versa. So they actually are two separate, just really sort of mini trials, if you will, in and of themselves.
Now, what about the blood test option as well? Because you have the option, I believe, to go to a local hospital and get blood drawn.
Right. Well, the issue with the blood test is often at various hospitals, believe it or not, the nurses and different medical staff there do not want to participate. And the reason that is that they'll refuse is simply because they don't want to get subpoenaed to court later. So sometimes it's difficult to get it. However, if it's a wreck now in South Carolina, it's new state law. If it's a wreck that has caused injury, then they're going to automatically get the blood of the individual who's to allege of driving intoxicated.
I see. Let's go back to this this town councilman, Mr. Byrne, right there. And apparently he, rear-ended somebody. The cops came, but then he did something else. He asked for the chief, reportedly.
Right. And, obviously that's a little bit different than your average stop. In that situation, clearly because of his position with the town council, he probably has a positive relationship with the chief. I haven't heard any allegations that he was trying to call in any favors, more really probably trying to deal with someone that he had a relationship with and felt comfortable with dealing with. And of course, that being the highest officer in the force probably would help you a little bit as well.
Now, everybody, of course, when they get stopped by the cops, tries and figure out some kind of scheme to talk to somebody they know. Police, when they get into that situation and you ask to speak with somebody else, how do they react?
That's not going to be a positive reaction most of the time. I've had clients of mine that would say my name. I've had a client actually one time that referred to his second cousin who was a U.S. Senator in Virginia. That's not really helping in a Somerville DUI case.
Right.
But so you really want to try to stay away from any of that. You want to respect the officer. He or she's just doing their job. You may disagree with them and you may spend a night in jail and ultimately be found not guilty, but it's not going to help on the forefront trying to drop any names, specifically make any kind of threats or anything like that, because nobody's name but that officer and yourself are the only ones that matter at that point in time.
Exactly. So please be nice and really don't even get into that situation. You can always call a cab. You can always call a friend. So please do not drink and drive. We want to definitely stress that. But where do you see this case going from here?
Well, obviously it'll be something that I would imagine is not going to be resolved quickly, because Mr. Byrne, like all of us, has the right to counsel and probably will hire that counsel and review the facts of the case. Considering it's a wreck and basically a rear end, which is something that happens for all different reasons, unrelated to alcohol. Could be that, he dropped something. Could be that he was looking down at a text message from a family member. And so things like that are really coming into play, because the type of driving is key to a DUI case. And then, of course, this field sobriety test, and if there's a breathalyzer. So it's hard to say right now, but really the public needs to, hold their opinions until things really come out, because essentially he could be innocent.
Indeed. And you've done lots of these cases. You know about DUI defense and the ins and outs of that. So, Counselor, we appreciate you spending some time with us and explaining the facts.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. We're back with more Low Country Live coming up after the break.